Hi, everybody. This is Will Bowen with today's Jumpstart. We're continuing our discussion of If by Rudyard Kipling, one of the greatest poems of all time, certainly one of the most inspiring poems of all time. And again, so many of you have messaged me on Facebook and emailed to say that you were given this poem or you gave this poem as a gift. So it's probably one of the most gifted poems of all time. And we are up to, if you can bear to hear the truth you've spoken, twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools. Now, I love that because knave is a word we don't use anymore. Thou art a knave, What's wrong with him? He's a knave. Oh, okay, I totally get it. The word knave means an unscrupulous person, a person who is acting unscrupulously, which means immorally, unethically, usually for their own purposes. Whenever I hear this one, and I really didn't want to tell this story because I feel like I've kind of kicked this dog around the block in this series especially. But as I've mentioned before, the very church where the complaint-free movement began turned against me and ultimately drove me out, as they had with several other ministers. And afterwards, one of the things that I was very careful to do was avoid anything that told me about what was going on there, because I found that when I read the newsletter or somebody told me what they were doing at the old church or whatever it was, even if it made me somehow look good as a result, in other words, you won't believe how terrible things are now, it upset me inside. And so I just decided to completely pay no attention to it. And I went to lunch with a man who used to be on the board of the old church, and he had brought along the newsletter from the church. And it was a few months after I had left. And in the newsletter, it said that we are working to get out of the hole that was left due to the financial mismanagement of our previous minister. And he was flipped out about this because he said, when we hired, you were there 5 years. When we hired you, the church was $600,000 in debt. When you left, it had less than $100,000 in debt. You doubled the attendance and you doubled the budget, and you were within the budget every single year. So makes absolutely no sense. And I was like, this from If came into my mind. If you can bear to hear the truth you've spoken, twisted by knaves, unscrupulous people, to make a trap for fools. What do I mean by that? I don't want to call the people there fools. A fool is just a person who is without knowledge. What they're trying to do is they're trying to say it's not our fault, it was his fault. They're trying to excuse their poor performance, and they are basically citing facts which are not true, knowing that people are not going to go back and check them in most cases. So it hurt when I heard that. And my friend who used to be on the board was like, we should sue them. You need to get a lawyer. They have defamed you. And I was like, well, the more you stir poop, the more it stinks. That's what came to my mind. The more you stir crap, the more it stinks. And so I decided to do absolutely nothing. And now here I am telling you the story. And you've never heard it before, and most people haven't either, because it's a non-issue. It's difficult when people say, take what we've said or done and try and turn it around to their advantage, and it happens in politics all the time. So listen, today, notice how people do this. Notice how people take innocuous things and shine a light on them to their advantage, and be careful that they don't draw you in. Enjoy today, and we'll talk tomorrow. Bye-bye.